The historical part of San Pedro was being lost, and I really wanted to bring it back up into people's attention, that we live in a beautiful community of historic value, and that's all being lost unless people realize it and understand it.
San Pedro is a pretty fascinating place. There's so much history that's been here, and there's so much things that have happened, and so many things that the world actually grew from, and it came from San Pedro, that this history is being lost. There's a lot of old blood in San Pedro, and they know a lot about the past, and they know the fishing village, and they know this kind of stuff, but there's so many new people too, and they just don't know it. Even the people that have lived here for a long, long time they really don't know the history of San Pedro. So I didn't want to lose that. My inspiration was just to beautify San Pedro. I love to do mosaic art with the community, and I love mosaics. I've never seen a mosaic I don't like. So when I saw this wall, and it was graffitied, painted over for years. This whole street, 25th Street, is on its way to the Iowa and the crafted and nice places in San Pedro. And people from Palos Verdes and Terranea and Trump Golf Course have to pass down here to get there. And this street was just kind of ghetto looking because of this wall. And I think that people on the street kind of just let their front yards go too, because they just felt it. And then when this mosaic went in, I noticed that the street looks better, the houses look better. I don't know if that's my imagination or not, but I think everything just looked nicer and more cared for.
I had seen this wall for years, and I always pictured like dolphins swimming or seagulls flying or something, but I never had really the background or the confidence of doing it until I did the Rainbow Services one. We had 50 people help us from a church there, and they were only helping on Sundays. We did it pretty quickly, and that gave me the confidence to actually take on this one. I thought, oh, you know what, I got to fundraise for it. I think I can do this. So that's what I did. And then when I started getting the people interested, people were just like, here, I love your project, here, and they'd give me like this $5 bill. So I could buy some stuff. So it was just a little bit of time, you know, it was a work in progress. The area, we were driving past, and everybody drives past like 30 miles an hour, 25, 30 miles an hour, and hardly stops at the stop sign half the time, the red light. So it's got to be a design that when you drive by, you're going to enjoy. But then I couldn't stand it. When I was up close doing it, I had to get the details in it. I couldn't just do something that people would enjoy from far away. I had to. It's just me. Every little detail has to have a meaning and has to have a component.
So we focused on our cliffs. Our idea initially was to have the pelicans, and you're in the ocean out there flying with the pelicans as you drive by. So they're going in both different directions, one for traffic coming this way, traffic coming that way. We put the cliff in the background and then put the ocean, because the ocean is part of us and it's part of our history. So that was important. And then our cliffs are important, and our palm trees are important, and everything has a start and why it was there. And things that are not there anymore, I even tried to put in. Like the Headley home here, there's an artist had a home down at the cliff bottom. He had no electricity, no water, raised 4 girls there. He was a beachcomber, and he walked along the beach and gathered wood that was fallen from the logging ships that were going up and down the coast. He would collect them and he'd make beautiful furniture with it. We put the Headley home on there because it was part of our history. And then we have our pink area here, which is our Arroyo Palms area, which is a place to go and have parties and gatherings. And in the 20s, there was a ballroom where they had dances. They had full-on orchestras down there. This is the Sepulveda house, and it's not there anymore, but it was in the preserve. It was the first 2-story adobe house. And then here's the hot springs where the hotel was. And I have palm trees all over the place. I had probably 50, 60 people at a time in the studio, and so they'd all make the palm trees, and I'd give them a dimension and let them go with it. And then another time we would glaze them. So they'd make them out of clay, and then we'd glaze them after they came out of the kiln. So each of these things had 2 processes to go through.
Through the process of the permit, I had to get a design from the public for cultural affairs. So we met and we had 15 designs and we whittled it down, divided it, put it together, and came up with one design that everybody was happy with. So it was a definitely community project from start to finish. 25th Street Mall is pretty amazing because of the people that really came together and helped out. Well, I was there at least 12 hours every day. I was at the project, or in the beginning when we were making like the pelicans from clay. On the back of each feather there's 2 codes, one for the pelican and one for the feather on where it ends. So everybody had to understand all that. I had to teach. I had to do my teaching thing and come up with ways that we could do it and ways that we could do it efficiently, so that each pelican, I had boxes and boxes and boxes of pelican feathers and parts in my back room. In Pelican 1 was in one box, Pelican 2 was in another box. And so then when we got to the wall, we just put the paper out and then we placed all the parts together and then put it up on the wall so that it was efficient for the community. Because, you know, I could just go up and just make it and say, oh, this one looks like it goes there. But I couldn't do that with the public. So I had to be a dictator. And so every part had my thumbprint on it, because I knew stuff was going to make it in the long run, you know, by just construction. I had the construction part of it that other people weren't aware of. And so when they come up with ideas, I'd have to think of it not only in art, but in structure. And is that going to last through time? Because I kind of want this thing to last like at least 500 years. So I needed everything to, you know, somebody put a little thing on there with glue, it's not going to last. You know, if somebody put something on there with a different kind of medium, or if they didn't put it through the kiln properly, it's not going to last. So I was more of a dictator about that kind of stuff.
The preserve area, I kept on thinking, well, that's going to be just green. That's going to be kind of dull looking. So what can I do to help the preserve area out? And so I came up with a magazine from 1988, which was the history of San Pedro. So we went through that thing and we took out a lot of interesting things that have happened in San Pedro, and that's all kind of written in the preserve area. So you got some history going on. Because I think it would be fun to have students from, I think, the 3rd grade, they come and they learn about their community on my wall. That would be the coolest thing ever. Somebody just gave me a box of these crystal things and I thought that was really fun, so I put them up. These things here are wine bottles that are crushed and put in a kiln at a lower temperature to just tack together and smooth it out so it's not so rough. So I have those in there too because they're green. And then when it came to the cliffs, a person actually came into the studio and said, "Oh, I love mosaics," and you know what I like about mosaics so much is that they're little tiny pieces put together to make one big thought and one big thing. And she goes, and it reminds me of the human body. So as she's talking and telling her what her thoughts about a mosaic is, it occurred to me, my problem was I was thinking about the cliffs, and I thought, you know, that's perfect, is that I'm going to put a box out in the studio and people can bring important things in their lives from their grandparents, from their, you know, whatever, or travels or something, and we can put it in the cliff. And that would make our cliff more interesting. We had lots of helpers that helped me the whole 2 years that we were here. And I think I've had more than 600 people help with this mural throughout those years. Some only helped an hour, some helped hundreds of hours. The preserve area, you'll see a lot of people walking. Everybody that came into the studio, I said, here, just make me a person doing whatever. And any costume from 1700s on to nowadays. So we have people dancing, we have people playing basketball, we have people with little umbrellas, skating. We have lots of people This is part of a little something that somebody had brought that was special to them. So we have all kinds of different artists doing their own houses and putting their own special thing in there. Then some of the, like the Rotary, the Garden Club, those guys who don't have to have a house, but I kind of made them into a house so they could be put into the mosaic. And those are spattered all over the place.
A lot of the tiles are made right from clay. I have a kiln in my garage, so I put it through the kiln, then they glaze them, they put them through the kiln again, and they're at a certain temperature to last the years. Tiles, mostly all the pelicans are handmade. The houses, I gave them an already made piece of tile, and they just created their house with like a squeegee kind of glaze on there, and I put that through the kiln. And then I cut the roofs and everything so it looks like, so it's not just a bunch of squares up there, they actually have roofs on their little house tiles. And the boats, I cut those out, and that was the same way, just gave them a piece of tile, and then they glaze it. So that's only had to go through the kiln one time instead of 2 times.
There's like 5 homes down on the cliff right by the ocean. I couldn't do them all, but I did this one because it had some really fun architect to it. The lady that owns this house actually came up to this, oh my God, she was so excited that I was actually doing her house. But she's got this stairway that goes all the way up to the top of the cliff. This is the rock house, and it was made famous in a documentary just because of its architecture. That's the start of the neighborhood. And as you go down the neighborhood, you could probably pick out people that you know. Their name that have been in San Pedro for a long time are on there. We got the corner store on here. They helped with a fundraiser one time too, and it was special. When we were making our design up, we thought the center should have something special. The people that on our design really wanted something to show that this is a working community. People here work, and they work hard, and it's from a fishing community. So we put together some people, and we have 2 whales in the center because one of the owners up here is a whale watching captain, and he said, I don't care what you do, just do a whale for me. So we put 2 whales in for him, and they're they're gray whale and the blue whale that are actually out in our waters. Then we have a mermaid that signifies San Pedro, and she's a young, vibrant mermaid welcoming. She's got her hand in here welcoming, and out of her shell she has fish of every shape and size coming out, which signifies San Pedro and all the diversity in San Pedro. And right in here is a mirror that you can actually look into and say, I'm from San Pedro too. So it puts you in there, into the mosaic. And then we have our chef, which mosaicked into her costume is the name of every restaurant that I could come up with. And then we have a contractor and a caring priest that has a mermaid in a wheelchair because she can't walk, right? So, and then after that is a seal, which signifies the people that care about our animals, the vets and the groomers and those things. And on this side we have our angel, and she signifies Los Angeles because we are part of Los Angeles. And then one right here is, in case anybody gets romantic and needs a little help, we've got you covered. Got the marry me, and we got a yes right there. So you can have a life start here at the mural. Then we have our uniformed personnel, which covers both military, FBI, fire department, city workers, and then our medical personnel and our teachers, which is anybody that has an educated job. So he's on a desk, and on his desk is mosaic, all the schools in San Pedro. And our little girl here represents all of our entertainment, I want to say. It's our florists and the gamers and the decorators and the artists and the athletes, and she encompasses all that. She's got balls around her, violins, she's all of our art. So in the center you have the whales, and then it comes down like this to a kind of a pyramid that leads you off. And then on both sides, on the very small, there's a fishing vessel on both sides, because that was what kind of started us out. The sky, there was inspired, it was just going to be blue, plain old blase blue. But then a tile man shows up and says, I have a ton of colorful tile in my garage that I wouldn't mind getting rid of. Bring it over. So we took his tile and we made a wind, because we live in a kind of a windy city. So we just, in the sky, we made some wind that made it really fun. Now, if you notice along, there's these mirrors. Everywhere you go, there's these mirrors. We put those in to make a sparkle and let the sun and let the car lights and everything shine upon it and reflect. And so it brings you like, what the heck is going on over there? It's calling me to look at you. So the sparkle is what calls you initially, and then you look at it and say, oh, look at that.
I was a Girl Scout leader, and there was a badge for ceramics. So we did a whole bunch of things with clay and had some fun, and I was the one that actually stuck with it, and the kids went off and did their own thing after that, but I really liked it, and so I started making it my medium. I do have an art degree from Long Beach State, so I can paint, and I have the oil and the watercolor and all that, and the printing and everything down. But the clay was brand new to me, and it was three-dimensional. It was so much more that I could do with it. It was fun, just fun stuff. Well, I do have an art degree, and my art degree was to be a high school teacher. So that degree sent me to printing, graphic design, textile design. So I have a basic class in all of the arts so that I could teach high school. But then I ended up taking more classes with the oils and the watercolors than I did anything else, so because that's what I enjoy the most. The colors are vibrant and it lasts. It's something that is historic and it just lasts so long. Each project is completely different. The schools, they all have their own ideas, and it comes from a lot of different people, but the ones that I just do for my own pleasure are mermaids, mostly mermaids. We're a swimming family, and we just like mermaids, and we swim in the ocean. And
we have a very large lighthouse society, and they all made these little things, and they were very nice. I said, okay, we need all these little tiny things, and they didn't complain. They just rolled out the clay and started making them, and then they glazed them, and then we put them up. There was like 5 of us. We all kind of put it all up. And if you notice, this up here is solar lit. So at night, there's a light that actually goes around and it lights up for probably 4 or 5 hours.
So the whole process was actually very exciting and very fun, and I never even thought that I was working the whole time. And then as soon as it was over with, I said, okay, you guys, we're done. And then I think I slept for 2 months. I just went home and slept for 2 months. The project took 2 years to finish. From start to finish, it took 8 months just for the councilman to put an amendment in an already mural ordinance. So that took 8 months, and the mayor had to sign that. So once that mayor signed it, then it took me another 3 months to put the cultural affairs thing together, put the meetings and everything together, and submit the project. So, and then building and safety approved it after 8 months. Then we were able to start the project, and I think it was 2 years plus 8 months kind of thing. It was all the people of the community that donated money, and they donated freely. They were awesome. We did have a t-shirt sale too, so that was another one I forgot to mention before. And those went really well. The corner store was selling them, and I was selling them on the at the mural site and people were wearing them, and they were so proud, and people would ask them, oh, are you part of that? And they would just say, yes, I am. Yeah, so everybody was just so excited to be part of the project. If I wasn't a mosaic artist, I would just be probably a frustrated painter. There's so many beautiful painters out there that I wouldn't be able to compete with them. Well, I'm a brand new grandma, so I get to go help out with babies, which is really fun. But I I am redoing my house right now, so that's fun. And I have a couple people calling, and maybe if somebody wants to mosaic a bench or somebody, some little project, which seems big to normal people, but they're all little now. Everything's little now. I am in the process of updating the website so that the history is on there, so that hopefully educators can go to the website and find historic information about San Pedro and their communities. And then eventually have project ideas for the kids and things like that. So the website eventually will become a interacting site. But right now I'm trying to Instagram a lot of the little figures and a lot of the little important sites on the mural and put a historic background in it, so that every day somebody's getting a little history that follows my site. And that's 25th Street Mosaic on Instagram, 25th Street Mosaic. So you can follow me on that, and then you can get a little history. And it's only a touch, because they only give you a little paragraph to write on stuff. So it's something that you could, I'm going to go research that a little bit more. Well, I would hope that they would see something on there that they want to go and research about San Pedro afterwards, because there's so much in that preserve area of educational knowledge and history that they could go research it, and everybody would know a little bit more about San Pedro and where they live, where they came from.